Wagwan, everybody, your girl is back, and today I'm reacting to David Cross, Why America Sucks at Everything. And I'm getting this one from the Gravel Institute. The link will be in the description below, so you can go over and check it out undisturbed without hearing me yapping from left to right. All right? Go over and show them some love, guys. So, all right. This one caught me, and I'm like, why America sucks at everything? What an interesting topic. We're going to find out what he has to say. So if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for coming in. Don't forget to hit the like and consider hitting the subscribe button. All right. With that said, to all my regular schmegulas, day one, City City Post, thank you for always being here with your girl. Let's get into this video. But just before I hit this, if you'd like to support the channel in another way, there is a join button on the channel. Once you click on it, you will see all the exclusive perks that are offered. Here we go, baby. Gravel Institute. America is better than American seem to be better than okay. Okay.
America is the greatest country on earth.
That's what you
the
hear.
Strongest, the richest, the most powerful country on earth. As an American, I'm sure you've heard that roughly 135 times a year.
You don't have to be American to hear that. I'm a Jamaican born and bred, and that is what you always hear. America is the greatest country on earth. It's the richest. It's the baddest. It's the biggest. It's the this. It's the that. That's what you hear about America. I know we just started, but you don't have to be an American to hear it. That's what I'm saying. I live here in America for umpteen years now, and I do hear it, but I'm just saying, before I even came here, that's what I used to hear when I was in Jamaica.
235 if you go to public school. 335 if you go to a Christian academy. We're told that Americans have the best lives of any people in the world.
Yep.
That we have low taxes, small government, and the highest living standards on earth. And most inaccurately, that we're the freest.
Yep.
Well, it is partly true. America is the richest country, not just in the world, but in the history of the world. It's really hard to comprehend just how rich we are.
Okay.
We have 18 million people who are millionaires. American households own about $100 trillion in wealth, an almost unthinkable amount of money. Okay, so America is the richest country ever. But there's a curious paradox. Most Americans actually have a much worse standard of living than people who live in poorer countries like Germany or Finland or Britain. But how can that be? That shouldn't make any sense. Well, here's the shitty deal. Americans get significantly worse services because our tax dollars don't fund them. So, of course, our services are worse, and thus we enjoy less happy lives than people who live in the aforementioned countries. Not that difficult a concept to conceive, really. You get what you pay for, said the cartoon dog to the other cartoon dog. And while you might think the reason American tax dollars don't fund as many services is because we pay lower taxes than other countries, that's not even true. When you add federal, state, local, and sales taxes and include other costs and services that our taxes don't cover but other countries' taxes do, like our uniquely high health insurance premiums, you'll find that Americans actually give away more of their wages than most of the developed world. For example, in Canada, for a married worker with 2 kids, all of the previously mentioned costs combined, from taxes to health insurance premiums, make up only 11% of the average wage.
What?
In the UK, it's just about 26%. Meanwhile, once you tack on the cost of our outlandish health insurance premiums, you're spending a whopping 43% of your paycheck. That's
wow. Dang it. When he explained it like that, then that makes sense. I'm like, 11% Canada, UK 26, and America 43%. Wow, that's crazy. But when he said it that America is living way worse, Americans are living way worse than other nations, even nations that are not as rich, I will agree based on what I've seen for myself of the living condition with a lot of Americans here. And not to mention, and when they say that they are way better than third world countries, I'm like, when you stop to think about it, from healthcare to labor laws, all of that stuff, it's ridiculous, and it's saddening, and it makes my heart hurt, and it makes me sad to think about it, because I've seen so much videos looking into the UK, now looking into the Netherlands, now looking into Spain, and I'm like, oh my word, what is going on here?
That's more than France, Finland, Sweden, and Norway.
Yep.
In real reality, Americans keep much less of what we own than in other countries. In other countries, their government takes a bit more tax, but then gives that money back to their citizens in the form of healthcare or job support, or a general safety net for all vulnerable citizens, no matter how dusky they are.
Crazy.
So what do Americans get for the money we pay in? Well, sure, we get a crumbling infrastructure, shameful homelessness, and millions of hungry, neglected children, but we also get some of the worst services in the developed world. Again, our healthcare. American healthcare is simultaneously the most expensive, the least efficient, and the least effective healthcare system in the developed world. Hey, the devil's trifecta. And in exchange for this extremely expensive, inefficient healthcare system, what do we get? Well, we get some of the worst health outcomes in the developed world. We have fewer hospital beds per capita than people in Turkey or Brunei. Americans have a lower life expectancy than people in Lebanon or Cuba. And in the Mississippi Delta and much of Appalachia, life expectancy is lower than in Bangladesh.
Look at the places that he's comparing America with. That in itself tells you that this is sad, and this is bad, and this is ridiculous. Fewer beds, not to mention the debt that you're going to be in when you think about when you deal with health. When you come on to health, it's a money-making machine here in the US. The service is ridiculous. Don't get me wrong there. You do get some good doctors here and there, but you still have to pay an arm and a leg. So I understand what he's saying, that when you compare America against other countries, when it comes on to healthcare, the well-being of its people, and their taxes help to cover, it doesn't matter the lowest amount, they get that same service. Other than here in the US, you gotta pay out of pocket for that, and you don't have it. And even, woo, this is sad. And the life expectancy here is ridiculous compared to other third world countries.
In fact, in 2017, the United Nations sent a commissioner to West Virginia to document what he saw, and he described, quote, third world conditions of absolute poverty, unquote. We even have a higher infant mortality rate than people in Russia and Serbia. In every single metric, America does worse across the board. So why is healthcare so expensive? Because it's so complicated. You have to look for in-network physicians, schedule an established care appointment, beg for coverage from your insurance company that couldn't care less about you. And that's if you're lucky enough to have good insurance. Compare that to Britain and all of those other evil, socialist-light countries where it's simple. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. That's it. I'll repeat that. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it.
Who need it? So they don't have to be sitting home in Europe and sitting and saying to themselves, oh, I'm feeling ill, I'm not going to the doctor. They don't have to do that like a typical American here if they don't have health insurance, a good health insurance. Because even when you have health insurance, you're still pondering if you want to go to the doctor to take on the additional cost that is going to be added after your visit. Because they have, oh, Jesus, this is, let me breathe. To people who need it, I love the way he put it. Here, no. And you still have to pay a copay after your visit. You're paying this heck of a bill for it, the insurance. And you still, when you walk out from the doctor's office, you still have to have a copay. Not only like you said, you have to find in-network doctors. And if you don't, say it's an emergency, you don't have time, something pop up and you don't have time to find an in-network doctor, you're going to pay that big old whopper that is coming your way because you didn't find a doctor that is in-network with the insurance that you have. How crazy is that? But yet still they're saying other countries, this communist mentality, because they are taking care of them citizens with giving them free healthcare. It's a communist. What kind of madness is that? Why wouldn't you adopt something like that? This one is getting me hot. I gotta be honest. If you guys can see how this one is, yeah.
And here's the best part. Even though Britain offers healthcare for free, their system is actually a lot cheaper to run than ours.
Can you imagine
Per capita
that?
healthcare spending in the US is almost 3 times what it is in Britain, and almost 5 times what Canadians spend. In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare. But the free market is more efficient, you screech.
Yeah.
But in America, private systems often aren't efficient at all. Private drug companies have an incentive to charge whatever they can get away with for pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
In Canada, a carton of insulin costs about $20. In the US, it costs $300. And with private insurance companies footing the bill, hospitals have an incentive to get as much money out of patients as possible, too. In 2015, the average cost of an MRI scan in the US was $1,119, but it was only $215 in Australia. Spain, about $181. And our healthcare system is so inefficient that we spend over a third of our cost on administration.
What? A CAT scan? $200? $100 in other countries? But here we're over 1,000, and this can, now we're in 2025. Can you imagine how much it costs now? Shock. I know it's expensive here, but not to mention the insulin. That one I'm familiar with. But when I think about it and try to wrap my head around it, I'm like, are you serious? The pharmaceutical industry in the US is a $1 trillion.
The United States spends significantly more on administration than we spend on preventative or long-term health care.
Yep.
That's just not smart. Okay, we get it. We all know that American healthcare is so much more expensive, you say, but that's the cost of having the freest freedom in God's favorite country. Well, guess what? Medical procedures that are totally free in Britain, like giving birth, cost tens of thousands of dollars in the United States. I mean, you want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs, Americans often avoid going to the doctor, something almost half the population say they do. With shoddy or non-existent health insurance, Americans will wait until their conditions force them into the emergency room where treatment is far more expensive. Again, not a smart system. Quite often, they end up putting off medical visits and dying.
Yep.
Susan.
Yep. I said this earlier in the video. They consider whether or not they should go to the doctor, even when they also have insurance. But can you imagine the person that don't even have any insurance? That's even far worse. So that's half the country. Then another quarter put on top of that who have it, still pondering whether or not they need to go to the doctor because their insurance is not going to cover it. And then to think about how much they're going to foot out of pocket. Then to put on top of that, how much they're bringing in from the income that they're coming in, if it's going to cover the cost of whatever for the household. It's sad. And it hurts to the core to just think about it. When he said in Europe, in Britain, in the UK, when you hear people talk about having a baby, in Canada, you don't have to stress yourself about having a baby, but yet still it costs tens of thousands. I'm prime example here. My last child, Araya, I had her, and it was $65,000 was the total bill. I'm not exaggerating. This is $65,000 and change. And I had a C-section with Araya, and I was in the hospital up to the amount of days that I could stay there after having the baby. You heard me? $65,000. I have 5 kids in all. The others were natural birth. It wasn't as high, but it was in the 45. And you'd be like, are you crazy? Are you sick in the head? And for having a baby, they tell you, oh, it's $10,000 flat off to have a natural birth. If they're doing even in home, that it's you have a doctor coming or whatever, it's $10,000. But once you touch into the hospital and the care that they have to give you, the prices shoot through the roof. So it all boils down to insurance. Hold on, guys, my doorbell. Give me a moment. Sorry. It is sad and it is crazy that's how it is here in America. And if it wasn't for my insurance, then I would have to find all that money. So that's where he said it boils down to if you have good insurance. So I'm not going to go into all of that, but I'm like, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Finley, a 53-year-old Walmart employee in Colorado, got pneumonia and took one day off of work beyond what Walmart's policy allows.
Yep.
So, of course, Walmart's going to Walmart, which they did by fire. Without her job, she lost her nominal health care coverage. She struggled to find new work. And after avoiding a visit to the doctor for flu-like symptoms, she was found dead in her apartment.
Yeah. But this is
when Americans do manage to get treated, they frequently can't afford it. Simple, life-saving treatments can cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if they don't have really good insurance, they're forced to take on medical debt.
Yep.
Tens of millions of Americans owe medical debt, often into the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in a country like Britain or Norway, medical debt is almost unheard of. But hey, that's why GoFundMe is such a critical component of American healthcare. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. I'll repeat that. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. America is such a strong, powerful, rich, and great country that its citizens have to beg strangers on the internet for money so they can get life-saving treatments that are free in the rest of the developed world. But hey, that's just healthcare. Americans get terrible deals wherever you look. Let's take work, for example.
This one hurts to the core because I've seen it so many times where people putting up GoFundMe just to go to the doctor, just to feed their kids. And like you said, that employee, there's so many companies here that the way that they treat their employees, you'll be like, why? Why? Why do you work for them? Why don't you boycott them? Why don't you, and my heart hurts for these people because I'm like, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I understand, I can't even say I understand their plight in not feeling sick and not going to the doctor because they're afraid that it's going to put them in debt. Well, debt, and they're already in debt up to their nose, and there's one less thing that they don't want to be added. But at the same time, your life is hanging in the balance because you're sick. When he even talk about the mortality rate for kids, for babies, is much higher here than, and I'm like, this is crazy. If you don't join, it's like if you don't join the military, you don't have a certain kind of insurance, or if you're not in a certain kind of job, you don't get that quality insurance. Not to mention what he's going to talk about now is work.
Americans work longer hours than people in any other rich country in the world, and that's not because they enjoy sleep deprivation and not seeing their families for days at a time. It's because they don't want to starve,
they don't have
or
a choice,
freeze, or die. See, America has the least generous job support programs, the least generous family benefits, and the least generous unemployment benefits of any wealthy country. It's one of the only countries on earth that doesn't guarantee paid time off for vacations. It doesn't even help provide paid time off for parents who just had a child.
Yep.
And it's not coincidental that we're also one of the most hostile countries to workers' rights. America has one of the lowest unionization rates in the entire world. Maybe this deprivation, our refusal to give people the means to lead a good, dignified life commensurate with how rich our country is, can explain a bit of what we've seen in the United States over the last few decades. Fraying communities, rising rates of depression and suicide, huge numbers of deaths from drug overdoses. These so-called deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdoses, alcoholic liver disease, they're one big reason why American life expectancy has actually started to decline over the last few years. And with such poor conditions, it's not a surprise that poverty is so rampant in the United States. America devotes a smaller percentage of spending on social welfare than any other industrialized economy because, say it with me, socialism is evil.
Yep.
It's evil. Go to Denmark and try telling those happy, healthy families enjoying their paid vacation that their system of government is evil. Guess what? I guarantee they'll know you're an American.
Yep. I tell you, when I sit here and look at these things online, and I'm like, people really sit down and curse another country, telling them that, oh, you're being controlled. Oh, you're being this. But your way of life is way better. It makes more sense. The people are healthier, happier, richer, live a longer lasting life, less stress, breathe better, don't have to be looking over their shoulder for certain things pertaining to violence or sitting in a theater. If it wasn't for this internet, I gotta be honest, and this is where my channel comes in, I wouldn't have known all these stuff about other places in the world, how they treat their workers, their healthcare system. Can you imagine paid vacation time? That don't happen here in the US. It depends on the job. It also boils down to the job that you're actually in. And not only that, it's tenure, how long you're in that job. Because I can come into a job like that, an amazing job, but because I'm fresh off the block, I don't necessarily get any paid vacation time. It's the older heads, the ones that have been seasoned in, that gets it. Not to mention when it comes on to, the union. Not to mention when you have a baby, you have to. I know of people, and I was shocked and my tummy turned, and every time I think about it, it cuts me deep. I was talking to this lady, and she had a baby. I'll never forget it. I was at the library. I saw her with her young baby, and I'm like, oh, how old? 2 days old. That baby was 2 days old. And I'm like, oh, 2 days? Why? She's like, she's filling out paperwork to take to her job because she didn't want to leave the baby yet, but she's fearful that they're going to fire her because she don't get no time off. She has to go back to work right away. I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. I was like, what? Guys, I don't venture out with my newborn until 3 months old. And I'm like, a 2-day-old baby. And then another lady was telling me, yeah, that's how it is here. People cannot take time off from work. All their family, both male and female, they're going to suffer. And I'm like, the stress and the strain that your body goes through after you have a child. You're telling me you have to get up? They're like, yeah, that's how it is. And I'm like, the land of the free, the richest place on earth, the best country in the world, and this is how. Yeah.
I digress. America also has the highest rate of child poverty of any developed country, and the highest percentage of workers earning significantly less than the national median income. That seems pretty evil to me, especially since such a tiny fraction take as much of your money for themselves and their families as you will let them. All the while, both parties smile and shake hands.
Yep.
Across every single metric, no people accept a worse deal than Americans today. High taxes, high cost of living for next to nothing in return from the government. The most expensive healthcare system for the worst health outcomes. More money taken from workers for the highest rate of child poverty. We are the richest country in the history of the world, but we have fewer miles of high-speed rail than Uzbekistan. We are the greatest country in the world, yet we have the most people in prison of any country, and the highest incarceration rate as well, and a higher rate of police killings than in Angola and Sudan. America is bad at everything because instead of choosing to make life better for people through a public healthcare system or more generous childcare policies or better public transit or programs that allow people to spend more time with their families, American law is designed and crafted to protect a class of parasitical middleman industries. Instead of using a proportionally tiny piece of the massive amount of the wealth in this country to make people's lives healthier and happier. Most of our elected leaders are, and have been for generations, engaged in a massive project of looting, gently and lovingly guiding as much money as possible from working people into the pockets of the well-connected and the ultra-rich. Think about that as we start hearing about the inevitable rise in homelessness, poverty, starvation, and sickness that will occur during these coming months and years in the greatest, strongest, richest, most powerful country on the face of the earth. I'm David Cross for the Gravel Institute.
Guys, I'm going to tell you this. I watched this one with a heavy heart. And when I say a heavy heart, I mean a heavy, hurt heart. I have never seen it put this way before. So precise, hitting all the nails on the head. I see this video, it came across my radar. I'm like, it's another rant, but it is so true. When you stop to think about all that is taking place here and the poverty and the so many kids go to school hungry. And if in the summertime when school is not open, you don't know what these kids go through. I was shocked when I saw these things and hear these things. And I'm like, are you serious? Kids don't get to eat until they come to school. So they eat as much as they can because they don't know what's coming next when they go home. People dying because they're afraid to go to the doctor to get a checkup because they know they don't have the money to pay for it. People going to work for little and nothing, but they don't have a choice because they have to provide for them family. And the employers have all they say so. Barely scratching by, less than minimum wage, working so many hours, not getting paid for overtime. No vacation time, having a baby, you're paying an arm and a leg, and you even have to pay to hold your baby. If you need an ambulance ride, you have to pay for it. But this is the greatest country on earth. I know I'm talking, and it hurts to the core to just think about it. And the more I think about this, is like if you don't join the military or you don't do something else in that line of work, you're not sure about a good health care or a certain income. Not only that, because sometimes I hear people that are in the military that have to have additional work to substitute. And I'm like, this is crazy. And when you look at the stats and the comparison against other countries of the world, even third world country, you have to ask yourself, what in the world is going on? But like he said, when you stop to think about it, the pocket tough, This harvest said the rich will get richer. Their pockets are being lined, and from one to the next, and they're lining the pockets of their friends with. But yes, there's so many millionaires here. Yes, there's this there, but the certain class of people can't see nothing, can hear nothing, can't get nothing, even when you try. And the colleges are so full. Guys, I know I'm going off on this one. And when these kids walk out of college after putting themselves in debt to go to college, they can't even find a stable job. And whatever they major in, that's not the job. They have to switch to something else. I hurt. This one hurts to the core when you sit and you listen to all of this. It's your island girl, and I'm running out of here. Be good, be kind, be safe, love each other. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the like, hit the share. This one needs to reach a lot of people. Consider becoming a member to the channel. Consider subscribing to the channel. And if you enjoy this video, there's a thank you button on the channel. Let's talk in the comment section, because I really want to hear your thoughts. Love you guys, and I'll definitely see you guys in another one. Bye. Man.